Chapter 4, Theory of Organization.
Good day, ma'am. I am Jeneriel Cagas, a BSHM 2B. For today's presentation, I will be present at Chapter 4, Types of Organization.
As a business is set up and develops, it follows a fixed form of internal structure. The structure may be simple or complex, but it can generally be identified as belonging to certain well-defined forms. There are several distinct types of organization which have developed during the growth of business, of which the most common are the line type, the functional type, and the line and staff type. The line type. Among the most straightforward organizational structure kinds, its power is distributed from top to bottom. These organizations do not provide specialized or supportive services. In contrast to other formations, each department head and the chain of command are in charge of their respective departments.
Since line authority is the most straightforward organizational style, its members may understand it is. Everyone is aware of who report to and from whom they are given commands. A person with line authority is aware of what is expected of him and is accountable for the unit to which he is assigned to work toward the enterprise's goals. Each member has full control over his specific area, such as work, scheduling, and other company processes that fall within his remit of responsibility, which spreads up decision-making.
The line type is usually prevalent in small enterprises. The advantages of this type are the fostering of quick decision-making, the elimination of backpassing, and the provision of excellent management training in direct operations. Types of authority relationships are also easily understood.
Since business operations are not confined to small enterprises, the emergence of bigger entities necessitated the incorporation of certain modifications of the pure line form. Weaknesses of their type of organization have to be eliminated, like the overloading of executive with too much duties and responsibilities and the bypassing of advantages which can be derived from its specialization.
In a large business organization, however, as duties and responsibilities become too great for any one man, the manager delegates his authority and responsibility to his subordinates. In the organization chart, figure 2, for instance, there is the manager with authority over the superintendent, who in turn gives instructions and orders to the foremen directly responsible to him and who, in turn, are in charge of their respective groups of workers. This type of organization is simple because executive authority and responsibility is merely mathematically subdivided as we go down the line. Lines of authority are vertical. Only the same level of authority, as in the case of foremen, are independent of each other. Each is supreme in his own field and is responsible only to the man directly above him. A foreman of one shop neither gives nor receives instructions from any other foreman, but each foreman receives his orders from the superintendent. In a large business organization, however, as duties and responsibilities become too great for any one man, the manager delegates his authority and responsibility to his subordinates. In the organization chart, based on the book that I see, figure 2, for instance, there is the manager. Each foreman in turn exercises authority over and gives instructions only to his own men. These men are responsible directly only to him. Thus, the flow of authority and instructions may trace in an unbroken line from the manager down to the workers.
The emergence of non-vertical authority in the functional, line, and staff ideas was later influenced by this trait of a line organization. In most organizations, line authority still holds sway. In virtually all commercial organizations, the line supervisor continues to be the boss. Any non-vertical authority is auxiliary in nature and only serves to emphasize what line authority is.
Line type necessitates the highest level of executive and requires worker to be efficient. No other type of organization demands such all-around knowledge and ability. As we stated, it presupposes total competence at the top.
One shop's foreman has full control over it and is directly accountable for how is it run. He ought to comprehend how the task should be carried out. He ought to be able to organize and arrange the work for the entire shop. He makes sure the relevant tools are on hand and in good working order. He chooses the appropriate techniques, employs staff, and trains. Then he oversees their exact and consistent work, modifies their pay, and takes care of an endless number of other little things.
Advantages of the line type. The line type of organization has certain advantages that arise from its structural relationships. Some of these advantages are the simplest expressions of the fundamentals of organization. The different advantages are follows. Number 1. Directness. The members of organization know to whom they are responsible and what exact functions they are to perform. Each man knows definitely his place in the organization.
The person knows who is responsible for his actions when he answers for them in light of his commitments. The CEO, in turn, might demand payment for the duties and responsibilities that he imposed when he gives some of his authority to others.
2. Fixed responsibility. The responsibility is not divided. Employees and supervisors at each level are subject to singleness of control. Each foreman or supervisor, for instance, has the full and direct control of his own men. He alone is responsible for the result of their work to the superintendent. Passing the buck or trying to lay the blame for poor performance on others is, therefore, reduced if not eliminated. 3. Discipline. A predetermined conduct or pattern of behavior is referred to as discipline. Employee discipline at work is defined as obedience to the management established corporate policies, rules, regulations, and procedures. Responsibility and self-control follow discipline. 4. Simplicity. Companies will make sure they don't spend any time or energy on anything other than growing the firm by managing with simplicity in mind. 5. Flexibility. The capacity to quickly switch execution to a different effort. The two facets of organizational agility are it and strategic responsiveness. The ability of an organization to implement or modify organizational structures is a component of organizational flexibility. 6. Development of all-round executives at higher levels of authority. Minimum backpassing. The line organization lends itself to a minimum of backpassing. When a supervisor has been given complete charge of his department, he cannot blame someone else if things go wrong, since he is also his own personnel manager. For example, he is in no position to claim that he failed to receive adequate assistance in forestalling grievances that may arise.
As has been mentioned, the line organization requires the executives to perform functions of a more comprehensive nature than in the other types of organization. Complete authority at the tops leads to complete knowledge of the organization's problems. When an executive is responsible for everything in his department or unit, he naturally learns all he can about it. As a result of the structural design of the line type, the company has trained men available to fill in for senior roles that might become vacant due to resignation, death, or retirement. For example, there is no shortage of men with leadership and command experience.
Disadvantage of the line type. As a business organization expands, the line type can no longer meet certain problems.
Such an organizational structure can be quite helpful in small businesses, but in a large complex, such as in a manufacturing company employing thousands of people and carrying out a wide range of specialized tasks. Several drawbacks become clear.
1. It becomes difficult to secure executives, supervisors, and workers with an all-around knowledge and with the ability required. Executives and supervisors must know everything to handle and supervise the same. Business operations in the modern world require or involve technical knowledge of various subjects, thus on the mean of unusual ability, broad knowledge, and years of experience could possibly qualify for such positions of complete competence. 2. Specialization is not taken advantage of. Each one in the organization has a variety of duties and responsibilities. 3. In a company considerable size, the executives are apt to be overloaded with duties and responsibilities. In theory, the principle of delegation should be applied, but in practice, the exacting requirements of complete line authority force executives to put their fingers into every pie.
As a result, the executives could no longer work to the best of their ability, having to care for so many details. They have little time left for more important work such as planning, directing, determining policies, and controlling. Perspective is lost and executive judgment becomes distorted.
4. Too much reliance is applied on the chief and other executives. In this case, if one or more of the top executives should become incapacitated, the business is bound to be crippled temporarily if not permanently.
The class is example of the man who builds a business from scratch, who develops it into a multi-million peso organization, but who makes no provision for his successor may be cited. When this poor boys made good die, the business collapses.
In the day-by-day operations of a business, this disadvantage is also apparent. There is a sense of frustration throughout a business when subordinates feel that only one or a few key men should make the important decisions, especially on matters where the necessary technical competence or needed research and detailed analysis is missing. The autocratic nature of control in line organizations is not conducive to the development of properly trained successors. 5. The spirit of teamwork, or working together toward a common goal or end, is something lacking in a line organization. A strong executive may be able to make everybody in his department to the line. He may be able to achieve coordination and control, but this coordination and control are not lasting. Based as they are on the strength of personality of one person, these easily fall apart. To be lasting, these should be based on teamwork and voluntariness. There is also the danger of layering the insistence that only communications flowing exclusively up and down the channels of command are to be obeyed. Place of the line type in industry. The line type of organization does not hold an important place in modern business. Line organization is, however, invariably found as a part of the organization of every enterprise, but pure line organization is rarely found in any enterprise of considerable size. Line organization in small-scale operations and in the hands of capable men have been the foundation from which have grown some very successful businesses. Under such conditions, line organization permits quick, decisive action, an important factor when there is an opportunity to be taken advantage of.
As the business grows, however, and the chain of command lengthens from the chief executive down to those who are to carry out others, the advantages mentioned above are wiped out and the organization structure is no longer suitable and has to be changed.
Functional type of organization. This type of organization is radically different from the line type and evolved as an organization.
Frederick Taylor, the founder of scientific management, noted that it becomes impossible to locate the Superman who is able to know everything there is to know about a firm and who is able to fulfill all the requirements of a line executive's role adequately. Taylor developed a fundamental structure for the management of a shop and promoted the functional style of organization.
His classic example of functional organization divided the work of supervision in a shop into two groups. Each group was further subdivided into 4 functions, each based on the book that I can see. A. Officer Planning Division divided into number 1. Order of Work Growth Clerk, number 2. Instructions Card Clerk, number 3. Time and Cost Clerk, number 4. Shop Disciplinarian. And B. Factory Division divided into number 1. Gang Boss, number 2. Sped Boss, number 3. Inspector, and number 4. Repair or Maintenance Foreman. In a functional organization, the tasks of management or supervision are divided according to functions. The workmen answer to specialized supervisors for each particular task they perform. Thus, the same workman would be under the sped's boss when it comes to the proper tools to his use, the speeds at which machines shall operate, and the feeding of materials into the production process. But he would be under the gang boss when preparing his work prior to setting it up into the machine. When a question on the products he turns out comes up, when this same workman is under the inspector. If a shop has 80 workmen, these 80 laborers would not be divided into 8 distinct units, answering to only one boss per unit. All of them would have 8 different supervisors according to what function or task are doing at a given moment. Among the characteristics of this type of organization are: number 1, experts or men trained for a particular kind of work are employed instead of all-around men. Those experts or trained men are, for instance, the chemist, the engineer, and the superintendent as shown in the organization chart, figure 3. They supervise workers only in the tasks where they are experts. 2. In the strict of functional type, we have the full application of the principle of division of labor, both mental and manual. From this division of labor, we derive the advantages of increased dexterity on the part of each individual in the organization as well as of accurate knowledge of manpower requirements. 3. The direct flow of authority from the head of the organization down to the workers is done away with or eliminated. As could be noted in the chart, figure 3, the engineer, superintendent, and the chemist are each in charge of separate functions, and each gives advice and order to all foremen on matters relating to that particular function. The foremen are responsible to the chemist for all functions within the field of chemistry, to the engineer as regards engineering matters, and to the superintendent when it comes to the actual production function. The workers, on the other hand, come in contact with and take orders from several functional foremen as to the performance of each particular function or functions. Advantages of the functional type. Certain advantages are clearly apparent. 1. Specialization is carried to a maximum degree. This tends to separate the manual and mental functions as much as possible. The advantages of the principle of specialization earlier referred to are applied. 2. There is a greater need for specialized skills and abilities which are easier to secure rather than the all-around workers who are more difficult to hire and keep. Number 3. The needed supervisors, in addition to being more readily secured, are trained for their specialized tasks with relatively little difficulty, thus promoting flexibility in the organization. Number 4. There is simplified control, hence functions are executed effectively. Number 5. Supervision or control or functions is distributed to specialists who have the full knowledge of their own line of specialization. Number 6. In the ideal functional organization envisioned by Taylor, cooperation is promoted and the one-man control of a line organizational eliminated. Let's proceed. Disadvantages of the functional type. Number 1, discipline tends to break down among the workmen and at times even among the foremen at lower supervisory levels. Number 2, when discipline is weak, morale is likely to be low. Number 3, there is retarded flow of action on account of the divided control. And lastly, number 4, responsibility is theoretically fixed but in practice, backpassing becomes the rule. These advantages prove to be overpowering. However, that is doubtful if an example of pure functional organization exists in business today. The line and staff type. An organizational structure that prioritizes line staff aims to increase flexibility without compromising management authority in a large, complex business.
However, with the addition of staff, the principles are modified to allow of exceptions. In addition to the regular line personnel, we now bring in the concept of staff, experts or specialists are added, as shown in the organization chart, figure 4.
Staff is taken from the word describing the stick, rod or pole carried in the hands for support. In biblical times, shepherds used as a staff. While going over hilly grounds, pasturing their sheep, staff became synonymous with support.
A staff executive, therefore, supports the line officers. But the staff becomes an essential, although auxiliary part of management.
In the higher levels of management, the idea of staff has led to 3 classifications of the various specialists. Upon when the top executive may rely, general staff refers to the advisors who service the entire organization. A special staff assists in specific and usually highly technical areas. According to Professor Arthur G. Anderson of the University of Illinois, there are 2 departmental organizations in the line and staff type. First is the line departmental organization for doing the actual manufacturing or whatever type of business the company is engaged in. This group exercises the faculty of leadership in getting things done. And second is the supplementary staff organization acting in an advisory capacity. So the line and staff concept as an improvement over both the line and the functional types offers certain advantages, and these are: number 1, greater flexibility was mentioned as an advantage of the line organization. Number 2, greater strength. The line departments get the benefit of well-studied advice from experts in a particular field. Number 3 is specialization. The advantages of specialization are applied without falling into the difficulties of the functional organization. Number 4, executive training. A line executive who studies carefully the advice given by staff specialists becomes a more qualified executive. A line and staff type also has areas of weaknesses. Unless line of communication are kept clear and uncluttered, workmen may confuse line orders with staff advice. Instead of volunteering their skills, staff specialists may try to impose their ideas and services on others. In that case, subordinate executives are left unsure of whether they should follow the instructions of the staff or those of their immediate superiors. This results in the divided line weakness of the functional form. However, this problem can be addressed if staff experts are specifically advised against going outside their designated scope of activity. Development and organization. Addition of assistants. Assistants are part of staff, but their increasing importance necessitates their particular mention. Ordinarily, the assistants to do the following work, and these are: number 1, in this way, the span of knowledge of the executive is prudent. It results as well as conserving his time and energy. Number 2, The assistants conduct studies and investigations and makes recommendations as to the results of his studies and investigations. Number 3, he confers with persons for the executive, going over their proposals with them, presenting his superiors' views as known to him, but leaving questions of major importance for the attention of the executive himself. And lastly, number 4, to issue instructions in behalf and for the executive, seeing to it that they reach the proper persons and that they are correctly interpreted.
To put it another way, the assistants perform a plethora of things to help the executive and act as a virtual extension of the executive himself, but they never try to take over the executive's line of responsibility or his or her own personal authority.
The committee idea and organization. A committee organization is an association of people set up to arrive at solutions to common problems. The line people are given opportunities to discuss their problems in the committee. The committee organizational structure is not like line or functional organization but is similar to staff organization. Arm of tactful administrator who realizes the importance of getting to work together in the solution of their problems. Function of committees. A few of the functions of the committees that may be mentioned are as follows. 1. To get the members to work as a team. 2. Recognize executive ability and enable training for those who later will comprise top management. 3. To enable the pulling together of executive abilities and experiences or the bringing together of some of the best brains of the company. A company, for instance, may form a general advisory committee composed of these are example. Such a committee brings together some of the best brains of the company. And 4. To secure the unity of action upon which success in any enterprise depends. Basic principles of committee organization. Committees, like other pieces of organization, vary in terms of needs of a given enterprise. However, there are at least 4 basic principles to be considered in organizing committees. 1. The organization of a committee should grow out of a need that is recognized by representatives of a department and the personnel affected. 2. The members of a committee should be representative of the function and the personnel concerned, and these members should represent variations in opinion among personnel. 3. Duties, authorities, and responsibilities must be clearly defined even if, owing to circumstances, they are subject to change. 4. The organization and operation of a committee should be a cooperative development. Suggestions regarding committee. For committee to be of greatest use, their formation should be considered carefully. The following are a few suggestions as to some of the points to be considered. 1. Size. Defined as the total number of employees in a specific geographic area. This would include a division of a decentralized corporation or the entire corporate structure if it is based in a single location. Number 2. Selection of members. Members should be chosen from among those in the organization who are directly affected and most interested in the branch of the business to be considered by particular committee.
The chairman is chosen with great care because the outcome of the committee rests in his hands.
3. Frequency and duration of conference. Conferences should be held at intervals frequent enough to get results of practical value. 4. Advance notices to committee members of work to be considered. This will facilitate the work of the committee as the members need to study the problems and to have suggestions at the time of the meeting.
In many cases, 2 or more members can meet together and hash out any specifies or stages of the difficulties that are specifically connected to their particular field, saving the other committee members time.
And lastly, number 5, the work of the committee. The recommendation of the committees generally receives favorable action by those in authority.
For example, The executive committee of the board of directors may have power to take action on certain questions in the absence of the full board. But as a rule, the work of the committee is advisory and receives favorable acceptance because of its worth and value.